Hi, welcome to Tyne Valley Motorhomes. I'm Callum and this is the handover video of an Autocruise Accent. So coming down the driver's side of the vehicle, the first point you get to is your water filler. So this is how you fill the vehicle with fresh water. So carry yourself a hose pipe and some hose pipe fittings, as it's mainly just a brass tap provided by the site. And then you can use your habitation key, pop it in here, turn it, get a grip of the cap and remove the cap, and you'll be able to put your hose in and fill it until it either overflows or until you're happy there is enough water on board. You can let it overflow by all means, or you can check on the panel. If you can't get the hose to the vehicle, you can get yourself a wheel pump and you can put your pump in here. This is a 12-volt point. Other end into the water filler and fill it remotely from a pump. Here you have a wastewater exit point. So this is your wastewater tap. So normally when you leave your site, you drive over a grid or as close to a hedge or verge as possible. Crack this open, which it is now, and you want to allow all the water to drain out before you start travelling. Because if you travel with the added weight of dirty water, there's no reason to. It's just going to take up weight on the vehicle for no reason. You could use this weight for more payload and it's going to increase on how much fuel the engine's using, so get rid of that. Again, using the habitation key, you can open the cassette locker and then push both in to release the door. To pull the cassette out, put your fingers underneath the orange handle, lift it up and slide it out. You can then carry it or you can wheel it to your waste disposal point, which is normally beside your toilet block and shower block on your site. And to empty, remove the grey cap off the end of the spout, pop that to one side, start to pour the contents of the cassette out and press the orange button on the top. This allows a bit of air in, stops it clogging and gives it a consistent flow. Once you've emptied it, there's normally a tap there, so put some water in the cassette, give it a rinse and tip out again before going in with a cap full of chemical, which is 120ml this measuring stick, and it can be blue or green depending on what the site prefers you to use. Pop it in into the vehicle and away you go. You can use your toilet again. Hooking the vehicle up, whether you're charging it at home or you're charging it on site, lift the collar off the top of the hooker blade. Always hook the motorhome up first and then the site, and do it in reverse order when unhooking, so that you're never walking around with a live cable in your hand.
What are you doing?
On the back of the vehicle you do have your reversing camera, parking sensors and detachable tow bar, and to remove this you'd use this lever here to open it. Press the button in and pull the tow bar off, push the tow bar on and put your bolt through the bar and tighten so that it's nice and safe and secure for towing. You do have 13-pin electrics next to it as well, and then if you open the door you've got your gas locker in here as well. So this is liquid petroleum gas. In here I've got my test bottle on board the vehicle. It runs off propane, which is orange, red, not blue. Blue is butane and that will freeze in the winter, whereas propane you can use all year long, and it is set up for propane anyway. So to connect this pipe from the regulator at the back of the gas locker to the bottle, which is known as the pigtail, on this particular one it is a thumb tighten pigtail, so you don't need a spanner, you can just tighten it left to tighten, right to loosen, opposite ways with it being gas. Put your straps on top and bottom for the bottle. You can put your reserve bottle in the corner there as well, so once this bottle's empty you just disconnect your pigtail and connect it to your reserve bottle, turning your cylinder on and making sure that it's turned off before you start travelling. You've got some storage under here as well, so you can lift this part up. And you've got some storage under the false floor, which you can access from inside the van as well. And you've got some storage in here as well, along with your winter valve, your is just down there, which I'll explain more once on board the vehicle. On the passenger side of the vehicle, you've got your flue for your boiler, so that gives a location of where the boiler is on board. So do just make sure this is always obstruction free, especially when using gas, because you will get fumes coming out of this. 2 fridge vents on the vehicle, top and bottom. And then this blue tap here is very similar to the grey, but this is your fresh water. So it's very important that in the winter, when winter rising, you let the water out so no water can freeze if you've taken on a source of contaminated water, or you're simply not using the vehicle for a couple of weeks. Just allow the water out so that you don't get any stagnant water sitting in the freshwater tank. Step works here, which pulls your step out for your entrance step. And then you do have your diesel, which opens because it's a lockable cap with a main key. So the Fiat Ducato key here unlocks the diesel cap and you can fill with fuel. Tyre pressures are on the slam panel, so 4.1, which is 59.3 on the front, and 4.5 bar on the back, which is 65 psi on the rear. Engine battery lives underneath the cab floor, with it being a Ducato, so it's not under the bonnet. If you ever need to change that, it's underneath the cab floor. And then underneath the seat is your toolkit, which includes a jack and a brace and a torn eye, so that's your toolkit. And you do have your bonnet release here. So you've got all your fluids: screen wash, power steering, brake fluids and your coolant, along with your oil filler and your oil dipsticks for checking the levels of your oil. Paint code: if you ever need to jump start the vehicle, you can jump from underneath here. This is your earth beside the passenger headlight, and just lifting this cover up, this is your positive for giving or receiving a jump start. To operate the control panel, you press power to turn on. If you're hooked up, you'll get the post and the back of the van lit, which means that you are receiving mains 230 volt. If they're not lit, it means you are on 12 volt from your leisure battery. You can view the levels: leisure battery, vehicle battery, wastewater, fresh water. Take the hookup out to get a true reflection of the leisure battery when it is charging, because it will give a false reading. To turn your interior lights on, you want cabin lights. Press them. That'll allow you to then turn the lights on, which are switched manually around the vehicle. Turn your water pump on to make sure you've got enough fresh water on, which we've got half there. And this will pressurize the water to your taps, toilet and shower. And then you've got your awning light, which is this one here, which is the light on the outside of the motorhome. So to heat the vehicle or the water, this is your Truma Combi heating controls. So this dial here, you can choose what you want to heat, and the 1 to 5 is a thermostat of the room temperature, and 5 is equivalent to 30 degrees of room temperature. So on the O is off. You've got 2 water settings on the top on the Roan, and it's just heating 10 litres of water in the boiler. So whether you want 40 degrees or whether you want 60 degrees. Coming down, you've got a gas flame, which is heating on its own, which you'd use if you had drained down your boiler and had no water on board, but still wanted to provide heat around the vehicle, whether it's on the drive and you just want to take the chill off it over the winter, or you're out for the day and you want to use your heating without your water. At the bottom, you've got both together, so you've got heating the vehicle and heating the water at 60 degrees, which you'd normally run at. And then underneath, you've got which energy source you want to use. So on the top here, you've got 2 wiggly lines, and this is 2 kilowatts of power. So it's 1800 watts. Underneath, you've got a lower amperage of electric, which is 900 watts. So you'd use 900 watts if you're on a small SEL site, abroad, or on air within the country that doesn't provide a generous amount of electric. But normally on most campsites, you'd use 1800 watts, which is 2 wiggly lines. However, if you go wild camping, you'll have no electric. You will just have gas, which is the gas flame here. And this runs off your gas bottle. Going down, you've got gas, known as mixture 1, which is gas and 900 watts of electric. And then you've got mixture 2, which is gas and 1800 watts of electric. The bottom one you'd use in the winter, it'll take less time to heat the vehicle or the water, or if you're in desperate need of water, use both sources together, will reduce the time it takes to heat either the vehicle or the hot water, like I've said. But normally, once you've used that for 10-15 minutes, you turn to electric and allow the electric to continue to heat the vehicle and the water, or vice versa. But I've got a little diagram here which tells you what does what, so you can stop the video at any time and have a look at this. To operate your fridge, on the left hand side you've got the source selector. So when not using it, you'd have it on off, which is off here. You'd have the door open, and underneath the catch there's a little lug which slides out, and you'd pop that in there, and it just allows it to stay in vent position when not in use, so that the smells don't form in the fridge by trapping the air. However, when you're using it, going back to the source selector, you can choose which source you want to use it off. So you can use it on gas, and when you select gas, if you're wild camping, you just push this in here, which is your dial there, and you wait for the band there to go into green like it has there. Put it on max right in the bottom corner, and that is the fridge lit on gas. So if you're wild camping, that's how you'd have to use your fridge to keep your shopping cool. However, if you're on a site, you can use mains electric, which is a hookup plug. Same for if you are at home and you are pre-chilling, you can use mains, hook the vehicle up, charge the leisure battery, put the fridge on, day before, put your shopping in, allow it to chill overnight, and then when you're ready to travel between home and the first site, or site to your next site with your shopping in your fridge, you can use battery, which is this one here. And that is off the engine when it is physically switched on. It's not off the leisure battery. The leisure battery cannot power a fridge. It's off when the vehicle is running. The alternator sends a feed to the fridge, which allows it to turn into a giant cool box and keep your shopping nice and fresh until you arrive back on your site and either go back to mains 230 volt, or if you're going wild camping, select gas. Like I was saying, this also turns your gas on. That's your gas gauge. But this is also your temperature gauge. So when pre-chilling, have it on max. Turn it down when you put your shopping in to avoid it from freezing. In your kitchen, you do have 2 gas burners, so make sure the lid's back. Turn the dial on your Smurf hob. There you are. Allow them to cool before you put the glass lid down to avoid it from shattering. Making sure your water pump's on to be able to get a pressurised flow of water, hot and cold. So that hot water there is getting up the temperature, so your hot water system's working as it should. Microwave, so this is a 700 watts mains microwave. Storage, plug for the microwaves at the back there. Gas taps, should you ever need to isolate a gas appliance, you can here by turning the valve the other way. However, these are mainly for when the vehicle is annually serviced every year. The technician will test each gas appliance on its own as well as together to check the gas safety of the vehicle. 2 slide out drawers. 2 230 volt sockets when you're hooked up, and you do have a little lamp there as well, little reader. Switch in the washroom to turn your lights on, and then to use the toilet you want to press the blue button, which will give you a flush with your water pump turned on. Put a little bit of water in there. Before you use it, you want to open the blade, which is this grey lever here. So slide it to the right, opens a hatch, everything goes into the cassette. After use, give it a good flush and pull this back to the left. If that's still to the right, the cassette will not come out the outside of the van. If you are wanting to use pink liquid as well, a little bit of pink in an empty spray bottle, fill the rest with water, spray the bowl before you flush. Everything goes into the cassette, cleans the bowl, and then when the cassette is full or getting full, it will indicate here with green lights underneath that it's, and 3 green lights normally mean that the cassette is full and requires to be emptied, rinsed out and replenished with chemical. Shower screen, toilet door, hand basin tap, which is also the shower head, pulls out. So in the winter you might just want to unscrew this from the head, pull it all the way out and lie the shower hose in the shower tray just to stop any water from freezing in here. But that just clips up there. And make sure you don't use any harsh chemical on any of the white finish because you'll damage the finish of the plastic. Soapy water, Dettol spray, microfiber cloths, no scourers or scrubbers or sponges that are going to damage any of the finish of the washroom. Underneath the bench seat behind the washroom is where you'll find your EC, which is your consumer unit 400, and in there it does have a black button just here which is a system shutdown button. So if you're standing the vehicle up for the winter, to avoid a power drain, you can press this switch and it will turn off all 12 volt into the motorhome from the leisure battery. You've got all your 12 volt fuses underneath, so do carry an assortment pack of 12 volt standard blade fuses which you can get off Amazon or eBay or any car factors. Just in case you do get a problem, you can replenish the fuse, and it's as simple as that. And underneath this side you've got your trips. So if the vehicle trips, try here before you try your main sight. However, if you're thinking you're not receiving power, the best way to check is by pressing that yellow button there, which is your main RCD. If that goes off, you've got power. If it doesn't, unfortunately you are not receiving power, and it's probably where you're getting the power from, not the vehicle. And just opposite the consumer unit you can find your sergeant information. So you've got all your fuse ratings there and what fuse does what, along with your RCDs on mains 230 volt. Lifting the panel out from the false floor, in the same cupboard as your RCD unit, you've got your main leisure battery there. So your leisure battery is in this container there. Take the strap off, you'll be able to lift the leisure battery out should you ever need to replenish it. And you do have your main 40 amp leisure battery breaker fuse at the back there. So if you get no 12 volt power and all your fuses are fine, just check that fuse at the back hasn't gone, which to be fair it shouldn't, but it is a fuse for a reason. You can check it in case it has blown. On the opposite side, behind the fridge, underneath the bench seat at the back, if you lift the compartment out in the floor where you can store things, just down below here, this is your winter drain down valve. So it's very important that you drain your boiler down in the winter to avoid the water from freezing in the boiler, which is just here. So your boiler always holds 10 litres of cold water, which is when you put your hot water on, warms it to 10 litres of hot water. So what you need to do is when you're winterising and you've emptied the fresh, the waste, opened the taps within the van, you just need to lift this up, stand it on end, do it without the pump kicking in like it is now, and it will drain out the contents of the boiler. Once you've done that, you can then just put the pump on for 10 seconds just to blast any water that's sitting in the filter here and the pump, but always make sure it's drained off so you don't get frozen water in the boiler, because it will cause damage to the boiler system and it is not covered under your warranty. So frost damage isn't covered. However, if the boiler caused any other issues, it is covered. However, frost damage isn't. So just make sure that you drain it down, and it's simple as lifting the toggle up and leaving it stood up during the time you've got the vehicle standing. Shut the toggle off, shut all the taps, fill the vehicle with water, pump on, cold side of the tap first, you'll get a pressurized flow of cold water. As soon as you go to the hot side, it will cough and splutter and make all sorts of noises because it's pressurizing the water to the boiler until you get a free flow of water from the hot side. Then you can start heating it and checking that your hot water works for the season ahead. But make sure you drain it down to avoid any damage to the motorhome. So to make the back bed up, you would use the 2 backrests in the middle to fill the void. You can turn everything upside down for a flatter surface to sleep on, but to actually make the frame, you've got 2 boards which go on, which you can find in your wardrobe, which just go in here, and then you put the cushions on, and it's nice and comfortable, and that holds the weight with the boards just like so. But that's how you make the back bed up on the Autocruise Accent.